Hi guys, Moffatt from the Disciples here today with a Kashtira deck profile. So this is the list that I used over the previous weekend when I managed to win 2 different OTS championships, going 9-0 with the deck. And the version of Cash this is Hand Trap Kashtira, which has actually seen a fair amount of popularity, coming second at Euros this year. And it's a very strong contender. Kashtira is still probably the best deck. There's a few different builds that you can play it, but I personally feel like the hand trap one is the one that makes me feel the most safe. It's still a targeted deck at the end of the day, and those targets are going to be for a Rise Heart. So the way I chose to play it and the way I think works best right now is with the hand trap. So when they spend the 1, 2, 3 cards potentially to out the Rise Heart, you've got at least 2 probably hand traps in hand to deal with whatever their engine ends up being. So yeah, let's get straight into the list then. So starting with the cash engine, this is the same 22 cards. Pretty much everyone has been playing for a long time now, so I'm really not going to talk much about them. This is extremely standard. I think it's very rare to see a cash list which doesn't have these 22 cards. There's the reason why the deck's doing so well is because it's so consistent. The 1 card engine is fantastic. So I've been playing Kashtira since basically release, and the way that myself and other members of the team have been trying to play it is more of a resource game. So when you go first with the 1 card unicorn play, ideally we're going to be adding back the ephemeral, the unicorn, off the Big Bang instead of summoning it. And then going for the usual line of the Shangri-La and the extra monster zone, and then the Arise Heart somewhere with you'd only have the 1 material from the Arise Heart. So this works really, really well with the hand trap build specifically, because like I said, you probably got 2 to 3 hand traps in your hand, or 3 if you're lucky, but on average let's say 2. You've got your follow-up from Unicorn or your Ephemeral if you added it back, with the Arise Heart, and also the Fenrir that you're summoning off the Shangri-La, and even more so if you have the field spell for the additional pop. It's not the super craziest board, but it's enough to get you there. It's enough to survive to turn 3, and that's when you're going to make a big push with the unicorn you added back off the Big Bang, as well as whatever non-engine that you've managed to save for the next turn. So yeah, that's really our game plan here: survive turn 1 and then just go crazy turn 3. So for the other 18 cards in the main deck, it is going to be all of the hand traps that we're playing in the hand trap build. So 3 Ash, 3 Shifter, 3 Imperm, 3 Veiler, 3 Mourner, and lastly 3 Nib. So there's not too much flexibility, I guess, with these hand traps. I feel like these probably are the stronger ones to main deck. They give you the most kind of coverage. So I still wanted to main deck Shifter, even with the Veilers, even with the idea of playing Mirrors. I still think it is just the S tier hand trap that can win games by itself, and that was evident by one of the finals I played, where I played against 2 Elements, and we all know how this matchup goes if you resolve Shifter. Talking a bit about the others, Ash is obviously generic. It's a very safe pick to have. You're never going to be feeling bad if you have 2 hand traps, a Rise Heart, Fenrir, and one of them is Ash. You're always going to trade 1 for 1 at least with that. Imperm, I really, really like. The talents are still around. It's a good 6-card draw. Again, it's just a very solid card, stops you from getting Zeus, even under a Rise Heart, which obviously Veiler doesn't. Again, just a very safe hand trap, and I do feel like it's on the stronger end. Veiler is okay. There is a good amount of draw phase shenanigans going on right now between Pearly and Runic and stuff, so the Mourner does kind of, and also not being able to trigger under a Rise Heart is kind of annoying sometimes, but the idea is that as soon as they out their Rise Heart, that's when they're still going to be starting to play properly. So at that point, the Rise Heart is gone, your Veiler is live, they spent the resources to out the Rise Heart, so the Veiler is going to be hopefully more impactful once they start trying to get their engine going. Mourner, my favourite part about Mourner, just like Ash, is the level 3 tuner for Baron, which I'll talk more about a little bit in the extra deck. it's decent enough. Like, it's not terrible. It does its job well. You know, sometimes better than Effect Veiler, sometimes not. Generally, that's why MPEM is the better one, because it's the more flexible of the three. Last but not least, we'll have Nib. So, you know, Nib and Cash is always a bit weird, but if you're talking about the cards where you want to feel the most safe in terms of stopping your opponent from killing you after you've made the bare bones board of the Rise Heart Shangri-La Fenrir, Nib is always going to be probably the best card for that situation, because they have to spend so many cards throughout your board, and they're going to be summoning more than 5 times. They're not going to expect it because it's Kashtira, even after it's this version of the deck is starting to gain popularity. The shock is still there when you're playing Kashtira and you whip out the Nib. Especially in the mirror as well, it can be very, very hard to play around Nib, as all Kashtira players know this. So it's extra strong in the mirror, especially if you haven't revealed it yet. So yeah, these are the 18 non-engine cards, so all hand traps. If I had to, you know, rate them, I'd say the ones at the top are the stronger ones that I really, really like. Nib, even though the Fury is good, I guess it didn't perform too well for me, but it was still a strong card, and I wouldn't want to cut it. I just feel like these ones at the top are stronger than the bottom 3 ones. Okay, so let's jump into extra deck. So again, let's just start with the standard Kashtira ones, or the ones that everyone is going to be playing. You know, there's no way, again, you see a Kashtira list without these cards. Really not much to say here. I don't think you need the second big eye. I think the best 2 of is going to be Zeus in the mirror, because that's going to be one of the strongest cards you're going to be trying to make a lot of the time, especially if you've prosperitied targets under a Rise Heart, so you can get the full value from that. So Zeus is definitely the card I focus on and having 2. At the end of the day, there is space, which we'll see in the utility cards later. I just didn't feel like the second big eye was a priority for that space, and I don't think you really need to play. I've seen people play 2 Dark Armed. I'd rather have more utility for other cards. And the remaining ones, so definitely my favorite card of the extra deck. Again, I've been playing this literally since this deck came out, and I always summon it every single tournament at least once, probably. Even more so in this build with the extra Ghost Girl hand traps, so with 3 Mourner, 3 Ash. When you're drawing doubles and you're going second, sometimes one of the strongest plays can be to normal summon that, and then like imagine if you special Fenrir, and they got the sets in perm. You have no other card, just the Ash. Having that extra push with the Baron sometimes is so incredibly strong. There was a mirror I played over the weekend where I didn't summon any monsters from the extra deck aside from Baron in the whole match, and every time I summoned it, it would just swing the tempo of the game so much. So I really, really, really like summoning this card in this deck, especially the hand trap build where the cards you have aren't like big pushes, like you don't playing Book of Moon, not playing talents and stuff like that. That's going to deal with the boards, and in some ways, normally summoning that hand trap does deal with the board with the imperms and such. Obviously, it loses a bit harder to cards like Eclipse, but that's not as common. And the remaining utility cards, I'll say, so we've got all these. Buster Blades has already seen a bit of popularity. It's just for the mirror. It's a really good card to deal with the set Book of Moons, especially or the econs, so you can force your way into a Zeus really easily and then clear the board in the back row. This is for making the 4 material Zeus, but the attack is weak, so you need to. It's only really good in some matchups where they don't have guys with big defense for attack, red eyes for burning, and because there's enough space, and I knew there was people at my locals playing Nibley, the Lingaribo. And then last 2 are just the prosperity targets. I'm back and forth all the time with which ones to choose. Goliath is the inherent protection is obviously just a big priority, especially people playing cards like Reggae, 3 Dark Holes, and some Go Second decks. And then I feel like the Skullwagon deals with the problem cards that are going to stop you losing the game, like the Book of Moons and stuff, especially again in the mirror. And side deck, so we have 3 Bells. This is basically just because we're playing the hand trap deck version of the deck. It's just to switch in for the decks where some of the hand traps are bad. So like for instance the Nibs, awful in stuff like Labyrinth and to an extent Branded. These cards, this is amazing for that, so easy kind of switch out there. And the rest of like the going second package, I guess, so the standard kind of 2 Storms, 3 Duster, and then the triple evenly. Just wanted like really high impact cards that would go second, that would trade really well. You know, every time you see these, you feel like you're gonna have a good chance to go second, I think, in this meta. And obviously now the broken cards, which hopefully will get banned soon, or definitely this one, and maybe not this one. But again, when you are going first, these are the strongest cards I think right now in cash to have. Especially stuff like anti-spell. Like I would prioritize making a Baron if I can do when I have anti-spell, so I can protect it as well as start popping the set cards that they set because of anti-spell. We all know about EEV, we all know how broken it is. Let's hope this one gets banned because it steals games way too unfairly. So yeah, that's about it really. Just a few shout outs to the team. Shout outs to everyone who's been, you know, fearing cash over the time. I guess we're coming towards the end of the Kashtira viability, perhaps with the next ban list. So we'll see if this deck makes it out. Shout outs to everyone, Ready, Aldershot, and the rest of the gang. And yeah, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions on the deck. And yeah, speak to you guys soon.